Well, it may look like consensus, but the G20 communique papered over the divisions on how to approach the post-financial crisis world. At the height of the GFC, the G20 members were united in their efforts to prevent a depression. But not all members share a similar fate, nor do they agree on the way forward. Here's finance correspondent Philip Lasker.
It wasn't difficult getting all these leaders to spend as the world financial system went close to collapse, threatening a global depression. But times have changed and the G20 nations no longer have a cause that is as common. The US, which is still trying to trigger a sustainable recovery, isn't prepared to take a hard line on debt just yet.
We can't all rush to the exits at the same time. So countries that have surpluses should think about how can they spur growth.
Take note China and much of Asia. Europe, on the other hand, shaken by its debt-laden community, is keener to reduce debt than the United States. The result was a commitment to cut debt in half over 3 years, with each member given room to move at their own pace. Not what you'd call tough action.
I'm confident that all countries that have made these commitments will fulfill them and will need to fulfill them because there will be market pressure, not just peer pressure. There will be market pressure to fulfill them.
That market pressure will come if there's a loss of credibility.
Expectations about future spending and future tax revenues is as important as the current spending and outlays. It's really that expectations of those future flows from credible policy announcements matter. Now, if these announcements are not credible, then that is going to have its own destabilising effect.
There was also a reluctance to take a united, tough approach to the banks. A global bank tax to pay for bailouts favoured by Germany and its EU partners was abandoned, with each country free to pursue its own approach. It was a victory for countries like Canada and Australia, which opposed the tax on the basis that saddling its more responsible banks with an extra burden was unfair.
Well, I think actually having a fund there indicates that you are going to bail out banks, whether they be big or small, and I think this sets up the wrong signals. It's a moral hazard problem.
The G20 also let deadlines slip. Plans for a single set of global accounting rules by next year are in doubt because there's no agreement on the important issue of when banks should price assets at the going rate or at cost. The previous pledge to increase bank capital requirements by 2012 has been watered down to allow a more open-ended phase-in which takes into account each country's circumstances.
I think the fear is in the US if they cut back on, I think, already overblown stimulus, while at the same time the banks have to massively increase their capitalisation. They're in a very weak position at the moment. Then this will further hamper the growth of the US economy.
But Andy Stokel says the G20 hasn't got around to addressing the most important issue.
Sooner or later, the leaders of these economies are going to have to focus on microeconomic productivity measures. It's productivity that leads to prosperity, not just sorting out your debt to GDP or whatever.
But sorting out debt seems more than enough for now.